Greetings folks, I'm Dan Mack, welcoming you to the Shred Shack. Thus far, doing these solo reviews, I've covered bands that don't fit the traditional mold of heavy metal, most of which being of other genres in general. Post-Death Soundtrack was the first band that I actually reviewed, and I explicitly said that they weren't metal before starting that review. Now, over 2 years later, I'm revisiting their trip-hop stylings to see how they've evolved for their most recent release, It Will Come Out of Nowhere. Oh my god, there are so many Randy Orton references I can make. No, restraint. First things first, let's recap the album that I originally reviewed, The Unlearning Curve. Rewind. But we're going to start things off a little differently with something that isn't even heavy metal. When I initially received this release, I was a little bit skeptical about it based on the information provided about their sound. When an antiquated individual like myself sees subgenre terms they don't understand, like darkwave and trip-hop, one does become cautious. Thankfully, that caution was unfounded, as The Unlearning Curve takes its cues in equal measure from psychedelic rock, industrial, and synth-pop, though Post-Death Soundtrack's presentation of it all is more brazen, perhaps not in sound, but in style. The 9-track offering creeps and looms, creating an aura that is deeply unsettling and yet equally captivating. Each track builds upon the intensity of the last, before abruptly falling away into solemnity and the whimsical album ender transform in white light. The vocals are left to carry many of the tracks to fruition, resulting in the album's best moments being those that prominently feature them. The layering and harmonies found in this album are staggering and hammer home the haunting beauty of the music over which they reside. The only track I really find myself skipping over is Little Alice. Though this is the aforementioned climax of our journey, it's a much harder pill to swallow. I feel that it does more to kill the mood created by the songs around it than it does to enhance it. So, what's changed since then? Well, a lot it seems, and the first few tracks are a clear indication that the project has grown immensely. It's more brazen, more intense, more incendiary. It even has more elements that bring it closer to being metal. The elements that somewhat turned me off previously now comprise more of the overall sound and prove more effective in giving the duo their identity. Much of the allure of The Unlearning Curve lay in the softer, more subtle tracks that bookended a more manic side, but now the manic side is among its strengths, with tracks like Crumbs being among the better examples of this.
Today we celebrate, for this will be the day we speak the truth and burn it all.
As a whole, It Will Come Out of Nowhere is the opposite of The Unlearning Curve, bookending the serene with the subversive, though the former is not without its moments. It's taken me a handful of listens to really appreciate everything that's at play here, as each time I notice something I previously hadn't that makes up the wall of sound that Post-Death Soundtrack create. Whether it be something as pivotal as a piano segment or as minute as a faint buzzing, there is so much being utilized to fill their sound to the max. While tracks like Dance with the Devil and Beauty Eyes I Adore from the previous album were catchy and at least seemingly intentionally so, what sticks out on this album doesn't seem to be so intentional. They are not presented in ways that earworms typically tend. They aren't really melodic or even simply sing-song. The listener remembers them like they remember lines from a movie. It's in the wording, delivery, the screaming of Crumbs, the spoken parts of Dark Matter, and the whispers of Piercing the Veil are some of the best examples of this seemingly accidental catchiness.
As a simple courtesy, death is very close today. Close enough to choke its prey.
The only track I would say one can skip after at least a listen or two is Ramona Hills, which in itself does lead into the aforementioned serene portion of the album, but individually does little to entice the listener. In closing, this is an exceptional example of musical evolution for the better, as this far surpasses The Unlearning Curve, and I look forward to the future for this project because I can only expect more interesting things to come from this duo in time. So those are my thoughts on Post-Death Soundtrack's latest album, It Will Come Out of Nowhere. If you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments below or on Facebook at facebook.com/theshredshack. If you're interested in hearing the album, you can go to postdeathsoundtrack.bandcamp.com where you can stream and or purchase the album. Until next time, I'm Dan Mack, and I bid you adieu.